If the universe and life show evidence of design, it's important that we ask ourselves the question, who might the designer be? Because when people argue for a designer, they don't all agree on who the designer is. Different worldviews give different answers. And so today's episode is going to be focused on exploring various options for the designer through the lens of science, philosophy, and religion. In the area of science and philosophy, we are going to look at the various options for who the designer could be, their claims, their strengths, and an objection against these different options. In the area of religion, we are going to look at how these different religious beliefs describe their God or their designer and how they believe their God or designer created or designed the world.
Welcome to AJ's Thoughts with Ezekarel, the Unapologetics Bold Apologetics podcast. This is your space to grow in faith, defend what you believe, and respond to hard questions with wisdom and truth. Let's dive in, listen, and be edified.
Let's start with the scientific and philosophical options. We start with theism, which is the belief that the designer is the personal, eternal God who intentionally created the universe. And you can fall into any of the various religious categories, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or any other religion that believes in a God that created the world. We have looked at different scientific and philosophical arguments for the existence of an intelligent designer, whom many believe to be God. And there are scientists who believe in God as the creator of everything that exists. They do not believe that there's any conflict between science and their belief in God. They believe that the reason they can study and explore the universe is because God created everything and gave man the ability to understand and explore his creation. The strength for theism is that it aligns with many people's experiences of meaning, purpose, and moral objectivity, as well as provides a unified explanation for the existence and value of life. But there are objections, like the problem of evil and suffering, the evidential burden of miracles and special divine actions. Another objection is the different claims and arguments about God, His nature, and His attributes based on the different religious worldviews that exist today. Some examples of scientists and philosophers who believed in theism, we have Thomas Aquinas, who developed the cosmological and teleological arguments for God. James Clerk Maxwell, a Christian physicist who saw laws of nature as God's order. Francis Collins, a former director of the Human Genome Project. Simon Conway Morris, who is a paleontologist known for his work on the Cambrian explosion, which is a major evidence against the theory of evolution. The second option we have is deism, and there are some philosophers who believe in a higher intelligence who set up the universe but does not intervene. The claim is that a creator, who is often seen as the first cause or a clockmaker god, set up the universe and natural laws but does not intervene in any area of the universe or the laws of nature that has been set in place. Its strength is that it preserves an explanation for the first cause, that's the origin of the universe and even life, but it avoids the theological problem related to God's intervention or supernatural actions or miracles, things that in quotes cannot be proven scientifically. But there are objections, like deism leaves many religious needs unanswered. Like there's no personal relationship with the creator, there's no ground for moral obligations, there's no revealed truth. It doesn't even explain apparent purpose beyond the initial origin of the universe. And some scientists and philosophers who held on to deism includes Voltaire, who was a strong proponent of a clockmaker god. Isaac Newton, who saw God as the great clockmaker, Albert Einstein, who believed God expressed himself in the harmony of what exists and not as a personal God who concerned himself with human affairs. There's also Thomas Paine, the author of the book Age of Reasoning, that strongly advocated for deism and against traditional Christianity. The third option we have is pantheism or panentheism. Pantheism says that the universe is God, or God is identical with the universe, while panentheism says the universe is in God, but God also transcends the universe. So the belief here is that the divine is found in the order and interconnectedness of reality. It believes that God is immanent rather than wholly transcendent. And the strength here is that it emphasizes unity, immanence, and religious experiences. But there are objections as well. Difficulty in accounting for the distinction between creator and creation. There is also the problem of whether God is a personal creator. That means, did God decide freely to create the universe and life? Or does the universe necessarily exist because God, the cause, also exists? Some examples of philosophers and scientists who were pantheists includes Heraclitus, different Supersadic Hindu thinkers. There is Baruch Spinoza and Friedrich Schelling. We move to the fourth option, that is unknown intelligence. There are some modern thinkers who speculate that life could have been designed by advanced extraterrestrial beings, and this is what is known as directed panspermia. The strength is that it offers a naturalistic alternative to a supernatural design while preserving intelligence in explaining the origin of life. But the objections are that it pushes the explanatory problem back. Who designed the designers, or who designed those intelligent designers that seeded life or the information of life on planet Earth? Also, this is often regarded as speculations because it lacks independent evidences to support it. But here are some scientists and philosophers who believed in unknown intelligence. There is Francis Crick, Leslie Orgel, and Fred Hoyle. Let's move to the last option under science and philosophy. And we have the naturalistic or non-designer explanation. The claim here is that no designer is needed to explain the origin of the universe or life itself, because physical processes, chance, necessity, and selection can explain apparent order and design we observe in the universe. And in previous episodes here on AJ Sports with Ezekiel, we've critically looked at how this view doesn't really explain the origin of the universe or the origin of life. But some scientists and philosophers who hold to this view include Epicurus, Richard Dawkins, Stephen Hawking, Lawrence Krauss, and many other atheists in the world today. Now we move to the religious views of who the designer is and how the designer designed the world. I will be starting with Christianity. The Christians believe that the designer is God, who is one, eternal, all-powerful, all-knowing, and a personal creator. The Christians believe in the triune God. That's God the Father, God the Son in the person of Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. They are co-equal, co-eternal divine persons known as the Trinity. The Christians believe that God creates with intention, intellect, and purpose, and He is distinct from creation, not part of the universe. The Christians believe that God created the universe and everything out of nothing. Creation was done in an orderly, good, and purposeful manner. God spoke creation into existence like when He said, "Let there be light." The same way He created the sky, the land, and all the animals that exist. And then finally, God created man in his own image. The creation narrative can be found in the Christian Bible primarily in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. The next religious view we'll be looking at is Judaism, which is the foundation of Christianity. Judaism is practiced by the Jews who are descendants of Abraham through Isaac and Jacob, and later on they became the nation of Israel. They believe in a God they call Yahweh, who is one, eternal, and a personal, holy God. God is both creator and covenant keeper. God established a covenant with Abraham and later on with the people of Israel through Moses the prophet. They believe that God is transcendent but also involved in human history. The Jews believe that God created by his word and wisdom, and he created in 6 days and rested on the seventh day, which they call the Sabbath. Creation was done in an orderly structure. God created the lights, he created the sky, he created the land, he created different animals, and then he created human beings, giving them dominion and responsibility. And at the end of all that God made, he said it is very good. For the Jews, the creation narrative can also be found in the book of Genesis chapter 1 and 2. The next religious view we are looking at is Islam. And Islam is a very strict monotheistic religion. They believe that the God who created everything is Allah. Allah is one, eternal, uncreated, and all-powerful. Allah is completely transcendent and not part of his creation. They believe that Allah creates by his will and command. He simply says, be, and it is. Allah is not depicted in any physical form. Islam believes that Allah created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, although the 6 days is not necessarily a 24-hour, 6-day period of time. They believe that Allah created the earth, the sky, the stars, the animals, human beings, all according to his divine decree. They believe that Adam is formed from clay and then Allah breathes into him his spirit. Different passages surrounding the creation narrative for Islam can be found in the Quran. You can find it in Quran chapter 7 verses 54, Quran chapter 41 verses 9 to 12, Quran chapter 2 verses 29, Quran chapter 38 verses 71 to 72, Quran chapter 21 verses 30. We move to the next religious view, which is Hinduism. Hinduism has multiple creation perspective and not a single unified account. Many traditions see God as Brahman, which is the ultimate impersonal reality. Another view of God they have can be Brahma, and this is different from Brahman. Brahma is seen as the creator God who is part of the Trimurti, which comprises of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Vishnu or Shiva are sometimes associated with cosmic circles. So in Hinduism, divine reality is often seen as immanent in the universe, and this is related to pantheism or panentheism, as we discussed earlier. In Hinduism, there are also different views of how the world was created. We have the Brahman emulation model that says that the universe comes from the breath of Brahman and not created from nothing. They believe that creation unfolds in cycles, from creation to destruction and then to rebirth. Another view in Hinduism on the creation of the world is the cosmic egg model, which is sometimes referred to as Hiranyagarbha. They believe that the universe hatches from a golden egg. Another view on how the world was created in Hinduism is the Brahma creation model. This is different from the Brahman creation model. The Brahma creation model says that Brahma is born from a lotus growing from Vishnu's navel, and then Brahma creates the world and living beings. The next religious view we'll be looking at is Buddhism. And Buddhism is a non-theistic religion, meaning there is no personal creator or God. However, they have divine beings known as devas or bodhisattvas who exist, but they are not creators. There is no first creation. The universe has always existed in infinite cycles of expansion and contraction. They believe that beings appear in realms based on karma. That means depending on how that being lived in their previous life would determine how they come into existence when they reincarnate. Next, we'll be looking at other minor religious views. And first, we have indigenous religions. There are many indigenous cultures like the African, Native American, Aboriginal, etc. And they believe in great spirits or supreme being who they consider as creator. And this is often blended with stories of nature and spirits and ancestors. This varies widely across different cultures, but there are common themes. Usually, there's a supreme creator who they see as God. However, that God is distant from daily life. But then, there are also lesser gods, spirits, or ancestors who are involved in the daily lives of these people practicing these indigenous religions. According to their beliefs, many of them believe that a creator forms the world and then withdraws, leaving other deities, spirits, ancestors, lesser gods to take care of the creation he has made. Here are some indigenous religions we can look at. And we have the Yoruba culture, where they believe that Olodumare creates the universe and deities like Orishas shape the earth. There are different deities, there's Shango, there's Oshun, Obatala, Eshu, and many other deities that are worshipped in the Yoruba culture. In the Igbo culture, they believe that Chukwu creates heaven and earth and sends lesser gods to refine creation. These stories are often passed down through oral traditions and they vary community by community. Another minor view we would be looking at is ancient Greek religion, philosophy, and mythology. In this view, there's no single all-powerful creator. They believe that the universe emerges from primordial beings. Plato spoke of a demiurge, who is a cosmic craftsman who shaped the universe. Aristotle spoke of the unmoved mover, the first cause that sets everything in motion. In some ancient Greek mythology, it's believed that the world is shaped by conflict amongst these so-called gods. And this is similar to many other ancient mythologies about the origins of the world. And here are some examples. There's the Enuma Elish, which is the Babylonian creation epic. There's the Atrahasis epic. There are also Egyptian creation mythologies and Mesopotamian creation mythologies. One last minor view we would be looking at is modern alternatives like New Age religion or New Age spirituality that says that the universe itself is divine energy or divine intelligence. And to some extent, this is similar to pantheism or panentheism. To summarize all that has been said, the case for intelligent designer definitely points to a designer as the origin of the universe. But there are so many options as to who the designer is. While science and philosophy might point to a designer, religion makes a claim about who the designer truly is. Major religions see the designer as God, personal and purposeful, though they all describe this God differently. Minor alternative views range from impersonal forces like karma, Brahman, to philosophical abstractions like the unmoved mover, to speculative modern ideas like aliens or universal consciousness. But at the end of the day, we must decide who we believe is the creator, because they cannot all be the creator or designer of the world. So here on AJ Sports with Ezekiel, in our next episode, we are going to take an in-depth look at one of the views I provided in this episode. Can I truly and fairly decide what view we should look at? Yes, I can. From the case for intelligent design, we can conclude that any of the views I listed above that doesn't believe in a designer as the cause or origin of the universe and life should be eliminated. We can also eliminate all the views that suggest that the universe is God or that the universe is in God, based on the various arguments given while looking at the case for intelligent design. So we are left with theism and deism under science and philosophy, and Christianity, Judaism, and Islam under religion. Theism believes in a personal God who created the universe and all that exists and is still involved in his creation. Deism, on the other hand, believes in a God who was the initial cause to the universe, but isn't involved in any aspect of the universe any longer. Theism agrees with the three religious views we have left, while deism doesn't. So deism is eliminated. So we are left with the religious views on Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Interestingly enough, all of these religions, all independently and interconnectedly, claim to be serving the same God. So how do we know which view to choose to dive deeper into? When we look at the sacred or religious texts of these three different religions, we observe something. There is a similarity between the Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible. The Jewish scriptures are the Old Testament in the Christian Bible. The Jewish scriptures does not contain the New Testament in the Christian Bible. But on the other hand, when we look at the Quran, because the Quran claims to serve the same God that the Jews and the Christians serve, and also contain information about the people both in the Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible. But God, who is Allah, in the Quran is described in a more different way than the Jews or the Christians describe God. Also, the narrations surrounding figures in the Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible, figures like Abraham, Noah, Lot, Moses, and even the person of Jesus Christ, is entirely recorded in a different manner than what is contained in the Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible. So it's safe to conclude that only one of these narrations can be true. It's either the Jewish scriptures and Christian Bible is correct or the Quran is correct. And since two aligns well and one doesn't, it's safe to eliminate the Quran. Secondly, it's best to choose a sacred or religious text based on whether the narrative given was recorded by eyewitnesses or people close to the period of time the event was happening, or close to the people that the events were recorded about. The Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible have the upper hand on this as well. So it's safe to conclude that Islam is eliminated out of the options to choose from. The Jewish scriptures and the Christian Bible shares a similar creation narrative according to what is recorded in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. And this is what we are going to be looking at in the next episode. God and the creation story according to Genesis chapter 1 and 2. So keep on listening to AJ Sports with Ezekiel as we continue proceeding on our ongoing Origin series.